Hello. Well, welcome to another industry interview with me, Lance Nielsen, one of the co-founders of the Outcast Creative. I've got a very special guest on the show tonight, not only a dear friend of mine, but also a very exceptionally talented man. He's one of the best character actors in the British film, television and theatre industries. Been in all kinds of stuff and still going strong. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit of Philip Rosch's showreel, but I have had issues with sound when I've been sharing clips before. So what I'm going to do is drop the link for it in the chat. There it is. And you can watch that to your heart's content. He's got so many credits on it that it's a longer than normal showreel. I'm not going to show the whole thing, but you guys can check that out at your leisure. But in the interim, let's have a quick look at one or two clips of Philip's recent work. Here we go.
To me, you're still worthy to be called my son. Kill all those outcasts.
Who are you expecting?
An old friend. And I'll probably never see him again. What the hell is... Who are you? What is the purpose here? I think you just woke me up. Rise from that bed at once. These lodgings and their contents are affected with a king of England. We need to talk. I have some bad news. But could we first watch talk first? Have a look. Beanaf Bashir was shot from a NATO helicopter. The helicopter landed in Istanbul 15 minutes after Beanaf Bashir's death. Grady Wells arrived in Istanbul the very same day and left in the evening. If the United States does not back my proposal, I will expose the murderer of Beanaf Bashir. No, nothing I would have remembered.
What's the next town on the trail?
Myrtle Creek,
How far?
2 days. It's a toothbrush, sir. To keep your teeth longer and your breath fresher. And you use it with this powder.
Thank you.
A what? I'm looking for what might cause.
Not many people can say that they've showed John C. McGinley how to use a toothbrush in their career, but this man can. Philip, thank you so much for joining me today. And that's just a small snapshot of some of the work you've done. And you work with some pretty incredible actors there.
Yeah. Fortunate that I have. That was a good intro, Lance. Very good. Made me laugh. Always a good start.
Oh, well, let me put my camera back on. There we go. I just forgot to put my camera back on.
You can see
You're very welcome
now with all the amazing things in the background. A bit more interesting than my background.
Well, that's right. I'm a presenter. You're an actor, so you need to keep things simple so you can focus on your roles.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've ever read my blog, but I did a blog about my favorite top 10 American character actors. I'm due to do a British one as well. And John C. McGinley is in that list.
John.
Is it John Reily? Sorry, John C. Reily.
John C. Reily, yeah.
John C. Reily. John C. McGinley is also a brilliant actor, but different actor.
Amazing. Yeah, John C.
Yeah.
Reily.
But John C. Reily, how was that working with him?
It was really good. It was a very memorable day. I only did one day on the Sisters Brothers, but I loved it. It was so much fun.
You worked with him and Joaquin Phoenix. I mean,
yeah. That was it was quite interesting actually, because when I went into hair and makeup earlier in the day, Joaquin Phoenix came in and we said hello, and we had a little chat. And he asked me if I wanted to go through some lines. He was looking at his lines. He said, I need to learn these lines and stuff. And I thought, yeah, we all need to do that. And and that was nice to like meet him then. But on set, when we were actually shooting on set. It was a baking hot day in Romania. When we were actually shooting on set, neither Joaquin Phoenix nor John C Reily, they didn't speak to me at all. And I didn't feel uncomfortable, but it was a bit strange. It was a little bit strange because we were there like 4 or 5 hours and the scenes were going great. But after about 4 hours, John C Reily said, "Philip, I hope you don't mind that we're not talking to you, but we don't like to kind of come out of character and have a little nice chat." When that scene was very tense and they were playing these murderous brothers, so that was quite fun.
Well, it's nice that he said that, and I understand that technique. I've worked with actors that are like that. You know, particularly on directing theatre, you'll get an actor that will deliberately separate themselves 20 minutes before the start of the show from the rest of the cast. They won't want to talk to anyone. They're getting in their headspace. They're preparing to sort of transform into character, as it were. And they don't want that mental river interrupted. And if they had a rhythm going between the two of them that they wanted to keep coherent, I think you were right not to be offended or anything. That's pretty normal, isn't it? Some of the time. Would you say that that's a common technique that you've come across with the bigger actors?
Not necessarily, but it was interesting, especially watching Joaquin Phoenix during the day. I mean, both their performances are so natural and so beautiful. And obviously they were playing these really, you don't want to mess with these characters.
Yeah.
But between takes, Joaquin Phoenix would sometimes kind of run around, or he'd just dash to one side of the room and have a quick chat with one of the makeup girls, and dash back, and he would play very happily, almost like a child full of joy between the takes. He was totally different than his character in the film.
Right.
It's quite interesting watching that. Maybe that helped him to get back into the more murderous guy. I don't know, but it was interesting to watch. Sure.
So you've been in the business, I'm going to say probably 3 decades now?
38 years, actually.
Yeah. So, well, coming up to 4. So I like to ask my guests a short round of quick fire questions just to get your sense of the things in the media that impacted you and shaped your journey a bit, and the stuff you saw. So can you remember what the first movie was you ever saw in the cinema?
In the cinema?
Yeah, on the big screen.
It might have been a film called McKenna's Gold.
Oh, God, I remember that.
Do you? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that was shown on one Sunday afternoon, like Easter or something, and I remember begging my parents to stay up to watch it.
Okay, yeah, I think it could have been that one. I have memories of that one. I remember it being really good. Was John Wayne in that?
I think he was. It was the lead and a woman. There was a famous actress in it as well. I'll have to look it up quickly. But
I think it was probably McKenna's Gold, or maybe Spartacus.
Oh, the original Spartacus. That would have been great to have seen on the big screen.
Tony Curtis and Kirk Douglas. Yeah.
McKenna's Gold was directed by J. Lee Thompson. That was Gregory Peck, Omar Sharif, Telly Savalas, and Camilla Spav.
Yeah, I remember that being really, really good.
Julie Newmar was in it as well, who played Catwoman. And so was J. Lee Cobb from 12 Angry Men. You've also got Burgess Meredith in it, who played the Penguin. So you got you got 2 people from Batman. Anthony Quayle. Pretty good cast in McKenna's Gold. That's a caliber actors there.
12 Angry Men.
Yeah, that was.
What a play! Incredible play. Absolutely amazing play, and the movie is really, really good.
Did you see the recent London adaptation of that was on about 2015 with Robert Vaughan from Man from U.N.C.L.E.? It was his last stage performance.
No.
Yeah, Oh, it was good. It was good. Good. I went to see it, and Robert Vaughan was ill that night, sadly. So that was the what was the last film you saw at the cinema?
I think that was Top Gun Maverick, and I absolutely love that movie. Amazing movie.
I agree. Fantastic. When you were growing up, who were the actors and actresses that you kind of looked up to in your youth? This might not necessarily have been as an aspiring actor, but like for me, if Richard Burton was in something, I wanted to watch it.
Okay. Do you mean like when I was a kid or teenager?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose I first. What was that? What was that actor who was in Shenandoah? Oh, James Stewart. I can't do his voice. Yeah, James Stewart.
Yeah.
Amazing, beautiful actor, and actually, possibly my favorite movie of all time. It's a Wonderful Life.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't love that movie? If you don't, you can't have a soul if you don't love that movie.
It's a great film.
An amazing, beautiful, moving. The script was incredible. The acting was impeccable. Astonishing film, and he was great, James Stewart.
It's I watched it, I think about 2 or 3 Christmases ago, pretty recently, and it's still as good as. That's not the first time I've seen it, but it was the first time I'd watched it in a while, and it's still as good as I remember first watching.
Amazing.
It's aged wonderfully well. Do you remember what the first production was that you saw on the stage that wasn't a musical or a pantomime, like a straight serious play? You know.
Well, I can remember because at university before I went to acting school, I went to uni and I did drama, art, and psychology. And when I was starting university doing drama, I didn't actually like Shakespeare at all. I thought in my Dumbo mind, I thought that Shakespeare was all just flowery language, and it seems like he'd take 25 lines to say something you could say in a few words. But it was only later in life that I got to just love Shakespeare. But the thing that really started to change me and make me admire Shakespeare was a production of the Comedy of Errors at the RSC, the Royal Shakespeare Theatre in Stratford-upon-Avon. And I remember sitting there in the audience thinking, oh, God, we've got to come along. The university's dragged us along to see this RSC production. It's going to be so boring. And it was just blew me away. The acting was incredible. It was funny.
Would this have been in the 80s or something like that?
Yeah. I think it was like 1983, 82 or 83. And from that moment on, I thought, wow, the Shakespeare guy is really, really good.
Do you remember any of the cast that were in that might have gone on to sort of big things, or maybe were even quite big?
No, but I do remember many years later, because I've seen Comedy of Errors many times. I do remember many years later, David Tennant played one of the male leads, because obviously they're twins. The 2 male leads are twins, and then they've both got servants who are twins. You know the play, okay?
Yeah.
And David Tennant, I think he was Antipholus of Ephesus, and he was just amazing. And he was just, nobody knew his name then. He wasn't famous or anything. He was just he's playing leads at the RSC. And he was doing that as a double A side with Romeo and Juliet. So he was doing one night he'd be doing Antipholus in Comedy of Errors, then he'd be doing Romeo the next night, with Alexandra Gilbraith, I think, was playing Juliet. And this actress at this time, I think it was 15 years ago, 20 years ago, this actress must have been in her mid-30s.
Right.
I think it's Alexandra Gilbraith. amazing, astonishing Scottish actress. Beautiful performance of Juliet. The thing was, she was 30. She must have been about 35. I don't know, 30, 32, 33, something like that. Playing what in reality was a 14-year-old, 13-year-old girl. She
must have been waiting to do that role for a long time, I'm guessing.
Yeah, but she was really, really great. But it's interesting, actually, because so many actors, I don't think a lot of people know, maybe people aren't in the industry, that so many actors you see playing big lead roles at the movies and leads in amazing series on TV have all done leading parts with great theatre companies, especially the National and the RSC.
Yeah.
You know, they've kind of cut their teeth in the theatre and they're seen to be amazing, and then they get something in the movies.
Would you say that particular play had an influence on you wanting to become an actor?
Seeing Comedy of Errors.
Well, just the stuff that you saw at the RSC around that time, because I'm guessing you saw Comedy of Errors and Romeo and Juliet.
I think probably by the time, yeah, I suppose it helped, but you know, by the time I was in my second year, I mean, I did drama, art, and psychology, and I enjoyed art and psychology, but once I started drama, I knew that really is what I wanted to do. So I auditioned for acting school after that.
This would be your Juliet, I think. Alexandra, can you see that?
Oh, wow. You're technically proficient.
I am. Who says men can't multitask, eh?
Oh, yeah. I think that looks quite like her. Yeah, I think she must have been younger.
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously, this is probably a more recent picture, but that's Alexandra Gilbreath. And
I think
I can definitely see her playing Juliet for sure.
Yeah, she was just amazing. She was fantastic.
So one more question on my quick questions. What TV series, I mean, it could be something recent or it could be something many moons ago, in terms of a straight drama series, would you say you watched and went, wow, that's good quality television? I would love to be in something like that one day. And I'll give you an example. For me, I mean, there aren't just one for me, but for me, definitely one of the first that comes to mind is Our Friends in the North. With
I heard a lot of good things about that. I haven't actually had a TV for 7 years, so
well, let's go back beyond 7 years.
You mean drama as opposed to comedies?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm talking about things like you know, the British drama feature films that we do. We've done things like Hillsborough. Holding On was a very good BBC Two mini series, which gave an awful lot of nods towards Robert Altman's Shortcuts, which I think was another groundbreaking British drama. And just, you know, Boys from the Black Stuff.
Well, yeah, funny, I was going to mention that, Boys from the Black Stuff. I didn't see the whole series. I must have been about 13, maybe 15, 16, something like that. I didn't see much of the series, but I remember when I saw excerpts of it, it was just one of the most astonishing things I'd ever seen. The tall guy, the lead guy with the dark hair, I can't remember his name. He was just amazing. Who wrote the script for that? Was it?
Oh, I can't remember if that was an Alan Bleasdale or it was because it was in the 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was
Bernard Hill was one of the leads.
Yeah, he was fantastic. It's funny, actually, going back again quite a way to like 1974. I remember loving I, Claudius.
That was quite a controversial show when that was out.
Oh, was there nudity and?
Yeah, and I remember it being discussed on some sort of chat show on Channel 4 with all the Christians on one side rattling their sabers and all the liberals on the other side saying it's good television. What are you on about? You know.
Was John Hurt in that, or was he in the movie playing?
I think it was was it Derek Jacobi? I want to say.
Yeah, he was the lead, and Derek Jacobi was just amazing. He is one of my favorite actors. Love Derek Jacobi. I think he's possibly the most powerful actor I've ever seen on stage. His voice is like just like thunder, and he's got such passion. He's just an amazing actor, and he played Claudius. He played Claudius so beautifully. This man that had to hide in the shadows, and he had this terrible lisp, and he was always had to watch out that he wouldn't get murdered by people, and he just played it impeccably.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be on the set of Henry V and watch him do his speech when the battle was taking place. I don't know if you ever saw that Kenneth Branagh's one.
Oh, the one he directed.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, which was shot.
Was Jacobi playing the chorus?
He was the chorus. Yeah, and I was an extra in the battle scenes at Shepperton.
Really? Oh wow! Okay.
Bit of a blag onto set that was, but that's a story for another time.
Yeah, beautiful actor.
Yeah, he was, and I remember he was terribly ill when he did that speech. He had a horrible cold.
Okay.
But as soon as it was action, he was, just all the energy was there and everything, and so fantastic. Well, before we go on to how did it all begin for Philip, and am I pronouncing your surname correctly? Is it Rosch? Is that right? Or is that totally wrong?
Rosch.
Rosch.
Yeah,
okay.
right.
So basically, kind of almost drop the C effectively and just Rosch.
Yeah, Rosch.
Okay.
It's funny actually because speaking of names and that, my real name is different. And when I got my Equity card in 1986, because I left acting school in 85. When I left acting school, I went to Welsh College of Music and Drama, and when I left acting school in 85, I actually left on the day of Live Aid. So
God!
I was leaving acting school when my idol Freddie Mercury was wowing audiences. Anyway, so when I left in 85, the industry was such that Equity cards were
they were important back then.
So thin on the ground. It was literally the closed shop thing that everybody.
Yeah, it was. They were crucially important, and you couldn't get one.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could, but it was really, really hard, as you know.
Yeah.
And the closed shop thing, but you couldn't get a TV or film part or even a theatre part without an Equity card. But the only way to get an Equity card, pretty much the only way to get an Equity card was to audition for a rep that had an Equity card, and every rep in the country was given 2 Equity cards at the beginning of the financial year, and they could give away 2 Equity cards to non-Equity people, of course, in 12 months. That was it. But once those 2 cards had been given out, that theatre could only employ Equity actors. So getting an Equity card was like really, it was like gold. And when I got mine, I worked with this company called Coracle Theatre Company in South Wales. That got me my Equity card after writing 800 letters. And when I used to get rejections, I never got depressed. Some actor thinking, oh, it's so hard. This profession's so hard. What? Do you want to do it or not? And they'd get depressed about, oh, it's so hard, and casting directors never see me, and agents are all horrible, and which to me, that whole approach and attitude was just ridiculous to me.
Well, you've got to be in it to win it, really, haven't you?
Yeah. When I used to get rejection letters, I remember Sophie Marshall, who used to cast at Royal Exchange, Manchester, amazing theatre. She was a really, really good casting director. I'd write to her all the time, and I get these rejections back all the time, just a standard rejection. And I would just put all the rejections on my bedroom wall and just post them on with blue tack and just look at them. And it just used to inspire me more to to get my equity card, which I eventually did. But when I got my card, this is the point in my story, when I got my equity card, I got a letter through from Equity saying, with respect to your professional name. And it said basically, someone in Equity already has your name.
Yeah.
So you've got to change your name. And so I thought, oh, what a drag. And so at first I did my best, because I knew this would make my dad happy, to try to keep my actual family name, which is Irish, an Irish name, because we're originally from Galway, to keep that, to keep Philip, but to try and semi-change my last name, but use the ancient version of it.
Okay.
And so I tried this for a while. It was like an O apostrophe, one of those O'Leary. Yeah. O'Leary, it was something different. Anyway, and then so I thought, okay, I'm going to call myself that. And then I was calling up casting directors at the time, because I didn't have an agent, and trying to get interviews with them. And when I said this name, I used to say, oh, hi, my name's Philip O'Hine. I'm an actor. And they'd say, Philip, what? And I thought, no, don't use that. It's not going to work. You got to have a name that people can't pronounce. So then I walked the dog for like 3 weeks, going through names. Philip Winterbottom, Philip Idiot, Philip Moron. No, Philip Rosch. Let's have that. It sounded good. I like the sound of it, so I went with that.
Okay. Well, before we get on to sort of how it all began, just going to chat a couple of things in the chat. Hey, Lance, keep up the great work and a cheer for Wales. So if you were brought up in Wales, that's clearly intended for you. And then we've also got RRTNZ also mentioned John Hurt played Caligula in I Call You. So both John Hurt and Derek Jacobi were in it. And "Oh, for a Muse of Fire." Yes, indeed. The opening words of Henry V.
All your subscribers should be auditioning for the RSC.
Yeah. So how did it start for you? So obviously, where were you brought up first, and what was the segue to going to drama school? And give us a brief overview of the beginnings, as it were.
Well, I was born in Yorkshire, but brought up in Liverpool.
Okay.
You know, like in Scousland, like, you know.
Yeah.
But my mum and dad were kind of well-spoken Liverpudlians, as opposed to like Scousers, you know.
Right.
But anyway, when I was 6, we emigrated to Canada, which was so amazing. I mean, what could be better for a 6-year-old kid than to be in a country which is the beauty of which cannot even be described in words. And there's 6 months of summer of blazing heat, and then 6 months of winter with snow, you know, 8 foot high. And so you tobogganing, making snowmen. It was amazing. Loved Canada. And that was really, really.
Where were you in Canada? Which?
In Saskatchewan, which is a flat province in the middle, very beautiful but flat. And British Columbia, which is just the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life, British Columbia. And we lived on Vancouver Island in Victoria, just next to the Pacific Ocean. And so that was really, really great. And we came back to Britain when I was 11, settled in North Wales. Yeah, it's funny, actually.
Bit of a contrast.
Yeah. I mean,
it rains 75% of the year, probably.
Yeah, I remember when I was my very first career ambition in my entire life. I remember it very well. I remember when I was about 5 years old. I was walking with my mum in Liverpool on the street, and there were these workmen. I was a 5-year-old boy. There was these workmen, you know, with like Tonka hats on, the little metal Tonka hats, in a hole in the ground, just in this massive hole. They'd been digging the hole. They were sitting in a hole, clothes covered in dirt, eating sandwiches, drinking coffee. And as a 5-year-old boy looking at it, I thought, that is the greatest job you could ever have. I wanted to grow up and be a guy that dug the roads, but I soon grew out of that. And then when I was like
yeah,
8, when I was 8 in Canada, I wanted to be an Olympic runner because I was quite good at high jump. I was good at high jump, long jump, and dash, the 50-yard dash in school in Canada. I used to win quite a bit or come second or something. And that was real fun. So I wanted to actually be, I'm not actually answering your question, but there you go. I wanted to be an Olympic runner when I was like 8, 9 years old. And I had complete, unshakable confidence that I would win the gold medal for England, England, in the 50-yard dash at the Olympics. But I just never got around to training. So, but after that.
When did the first sort of leanings towards acting come? Was that when you studied the 3 topics and drama was the one that really kind of spoke to you, or was it before that?
Well, when I was in my early teens, I wanted to be in the army. And then, I mean, that lasted a few years. And then when I was about kind of like 15, 16, I didn't want to be a rock star. I didn't have the talent to be a rock star, but I wanted to be a pianist songwriter in a band because I loved music.
Right.
And I played piano. I couldn't really sing very well. I would love to be able to sing. That's one. I mean, I can sing, but I'm not like bello canto or whatever you call it. I'm not a good singer, but I enjoy singing. I'm good at karaoke. I've done in karaoke. What have I done? I did Queen's Real Rock. Well, sang with massive inverted commas. Sang Queen's Real Rock You, and the second one I did was, well, AC/DC. You Shook Me All Night Long.
Blimey, that's
I didn't actually know
duet there.
I only knew the chorus, and so I didn't actually know how the verse went. But I didn't care. I just thought I want to sing this because I love it.
So when did the acting intersect all of this?
Well, I did English Lit and Art in my A levels. And then when I finished my A levels, I don't remember this, but my dad told me this was true, and I'm sure that he was accurate. Apparently, I said to my dad, well, Dad, I've finished school now. I might as well go and get a job. Now, I can't ever imagine saying that because I never would have wanted to get a normal job. But my dad told me that's what I said to him. And he said to me, Philip, you wouldn't like to get a job. Why don't you go to a place called university? So I thought, oh, okay. I'll go to university, fine. And so I was looking down the college, the place I went, it was a college, and so you didn't just do one subject. You had to choose from like 3 different columns of subjects.
And wasn't university fully sort of free back then? You didn't have to pay, did you?
I don't know. I didn't really think about all that stuff. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was back in because I imagine you must have gone there. What, in the sort of early 80s? Yeah, I think it. Well, it was certainly a lot cheaper than it is now, and it may have been subsidised or free to some degrees. So
okay.
you did. So at uni, you did art, drama, and psychology.
Yeah. I chose psychology. Okay, that was good. Art, I really liked art. And then in this other column, I was looking down on the subjects. Finance, no. Chemistry, no. Physics, no. Oh, drama, acting. Gee, that sounds like fun. And that was it, really. I'd never even thought of it until that moment.
Right.
And I thought it'll be fun.
Do you remember what the first university production was that you did on that course in the acting?
Yeah, we did one called The Sport of My Mad Mother by Angelico. And it was a really good play, actually. I played a character called Thack, and it was very energetic play. It was kind of quite mad play, and interestingly enough, how just in the same way that it took me quite some time to get to like Shakespeare, but when I got to like Shakespeare, I loved him. And it was the same way as I'm very I've always been interested in philosophy and existential questions and the meaning of life and everything like that, and spiritual things. And I have been fascinated and attracted by, well, many different spiritual schools of thought, Buddhism, lots of different things, but particularly attracted by Indian spirituality from centuries ago. And there in Indian spirituality, there's actually a goddess called Kali. This
Yeah, I know who they are.
And she's apparently the goddess of destruction. And I remember at the beginning of this play, The Sport of My Mad Mother, Angelico, the writer, she said, there was just a quote from the goddess Kali at the beginning of this play saying, all creation is simply the sport, in other words, the play, the fun. All creation is the sport of my mad mother, Kali. And when I was in university, going through the play, I thought, what's that? What's that supposed to mean? You know, what's that nonsense? But I can see the depth of it now. That's what it says. That apparently the universe is just, I don't know how to describe it, but it's fascinating.
So you, I'm assuming at some point you moved to London because some of the early jobs that you did in your professional career feel like they've got London seedlings in, if I may put it that way. One of the first, not the first, but one of the early. I want to talk about a couple of your early things that you worked on, and one of them was a film that was actually produced and directed by a sort of duo indie filmmaking friend of mine, and that would have been Urban Ghost Story. You did a role as a reporter, and of course this was produced by the eponymous Chris Jones, and who now runs the London Screenwriters Festival. And actually there's an industry interview with Chris on this channel. People can look it up. It's in the same section as these. And Jen Joliffe directed that. Did you go to the very first industry screening of that at 20th Century Fox in Golden Square, which would have been in the sort of early 90s, I think, just after they made the movie? Because I was at that screening.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So how our lives have sort of
I know, right? We, you know, and it would have been entirely possible that we could have spoken, but I mean, it's so long ago.
Yeah. No, I didn't go to that, but yeah, I do remember shooting that.
How did you come to be involved in that? Did that come through an agent, or was that you networking, or what happened? I know it's just a little part. I'm just curious.
Yeah, a tiny little. I mean, I was just laughing a minute ago simply because I remember doing that. I remember shooting that, and that was just it was kind of the time I was delighted to get the part. I don't think actually. I think my scene was just cut from the movie anyway. It was like a policeman scene in that. Was it Sean Connery's Jason Connery? Yeah.
Jason Connery, Sean Connery's son was in it. And it kind of had sort of shades of the Enfield Haunting. It was the kind of ghostly activities with the family in a tower block, and it was quite an interesting little movie. Had one of the guys from Die Hard in it, which was quite bizarre casting.
That was, but Yeah, that was, it's funny. I think it was like 91 or some 1991 or something like that. And I think it was cast by a lady called Catherine Arton, who's really, really wonderful lady. And it was just one of those, the reason it made me laugh is that was during, actors can often have a period in their career when they're kind of, I put it, in the wilderness, where you're in the kind of acting wilderness where it's just you're desperately trying to make some tiny little opportunity for yourself, because you've got to get on somehow. And I remember I was in this period then, and I managed. I think I wrote to the casting director, or maybe I sent her a little show reel, and so she brought me in, and I got the part and that. But that was during a time when my career was just, I'd been out of acting school about 6 years, but I was still struggling, and was still sort of struggling for quite a few years after that as well. But that's the thing about acting. You've got to, if you're not one of the people who immediately gets picked up from a showcase, with some people it happens, and that's really, really good. But if you don't get an agent right away, you have to do everything you possibly can to make some good opportunities for yourself. And I know that was quite a good credit for me. So, every little thing will help you get up the ladder, so to speak. And I always enjoyed it. I always enjoyed the process. I never, ever, ever got down or despondent about with rejection and things like that. It didn't ever bother me. I just enjoyed the whole thing so much, and I just wanted it so much that nothing ever could have put me off.
That was the casting director on that, you said, was Catherine Arton, and that's Catherine Arton-Still, isn't it? Who is still around today, and actually is it's funny, she's also a dear friend of mine,
Really? Okay, yeah, she's a great lady.
Yeah, and she's not long got out of hospital, and I was actually due to call her yesterday, and I forgot. So thanks to you, you've just reminded me I need to give her a ring. Now, not long after that, you got cast in a small part, but I have to say it's an iconic scene. I've seen this scene recreated at more parties by people who are drunk or in various states of inebriation than any other scene from Star Wars.
All right, yeah.
This is a young you with Danny Dyer talking about the good and the dark side of the Force.
But that wasn't me though. Oh, but yeah, the actor was really good. That wasn't me though.
That's you on the left, isn't it?
No.
Is that not you in that scene? Because it looks like a young you.
Comedy? Are you doing this as a comedy moment, Lance? No, that's not actually me.
It's not. I thought that was you. I thought that was you in Human Traffic. You serious? No. That's not you. I thought that was you.
Not me. I do remember the party scenes, and it's funny actually. There were some real gems in that movie. It was very well observed. And Justin Kerrigan, because I'd actually done a film with him before I did Human Traffic, a small part in Human Traffic. I did a film with him called Pub Room Paranoia, which was actually quite good. And when he was still at film school, at Newport Film School.
Yeah.
And Newport Film School, one of the best film schools in the country, without a doubt. And even, I don't know what it's like now, it's probably even better. But they're talking about way back in we shot that in 98, I think. We shot the Human Traffic. And it was amazing then. But I did this thing called Pub Room Paranoia with him in 97 or 96 or something. That was really, really good. This short little film. I think it got on Channel 4. But Justin I think he always found he was always good at showing really kind of embarrassing conversations or situations that people can recognize.
Yeah.
He was good at doing, like, a bit like Ricky Gervais was brilliant at doing that in The Office, in extras and things like that. He did it in a different way, Justin, of course, but yeah, he was very into, so like looking at this scene here on the screen from Human Traffic, these kind of, you know, drug fueled conversations when you're doped up and da 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 da, you know, he was very, very good. The dialogue was great, and the way it was very naturally acted, you know.
So you play, according to IMDb, you played Jip's manager, but I honestly thought when I watched it again recently, probably about 6 months ago, and as soon as I saw this guy on the screen, I went, "Oh my God, there's Philip when he's really young," because this guy really looks like a young you. My apologies for getting. That's the first time I've got that wrong out of 40 interviews. It had to happen at some stage. I'm glad it happened with you, Philip. And
But
yeah, I could have sworn. Oh, well, that's a shame. But because I was always so like proud that you did this scene, and then I found out it wasn't you after all.
You couldn't write this. We couldn't recreate it. No.
Did you? How many days were you on Human Traffic in the other role that's not this one? How many days were you on the film?
Actually, I think I only recently took that clip, the clip from Human Traffic, off my show reel.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Because it's been on there for ages. Well, over 20 years, I guess. But my agent simply said, "Well, it's a really good clip, but it's just it'll make it too long, so we culled a bit off it." But what did you ask me? How many days did I shoot?
Yeah,
it's interesting because the scene in Human Traffic, that was so much fun. That was so much fun to do, and it was even though I'd worked with Justin before on Pub Room Paranoia, I remember I was in London at the time, and because I didn't. He told me afterwards. Justin told me afterwards, or maybe somebody else who was producing it. And I know Justin directed it, of course. And Justin told me Justin told me afterwards, after we shot it, or after I got the part, or after he offered me the part. He said, "Philip, I've got this part for you in this new film I'm doing, and it's just we've auditioned." I'm pretty sure he said this. "We've auditioned quite a few people, but nothing's working, and they're just not right." And I was thinking, who's going to play this part? I thought, Philip Rosch, he'd be great for this part. Anyway, and I just, when I got the script, because it was just 5 lines. When I got the script, I just thought, in my innocence, I thought, I just imagined it would be very kind of naturalistic. Do you know the scene, Lance?
Your Jip's manager is in the shop.
Yeah, because with
the jeans. Oh my God! Yeah, it's the isn't it? This is your final warning.
Yeah, that's right. Very good. You should.
Yeah, God, yeah, man. I got that. I do know the scene. I think we might be able to show that. I wonder you didn't want to recreate the scene when I said let's recreate the scene on the interview. Yeah, you wouldn't want to recreate that scene. I understand that.
Yeah, but it was. But the thing was, I thought. It's all coming back to me now. All these pictures. I thought it was just going to be, just a normal kind of naturalistic scene, and what do you think you're doing? What do you think you're doing? Just standing around and talking. I can't remember the rest of the lines. Whatever it was, I thought it would just be this naturalistic thing. You kind of just telling him off, and then Justin.
I can remember all the lines from that scene, I think.
Well, but and then Justin sort of said to me, because he's very meticulous director. He's quite a meticulous director. Not all directors are. He's quite meticulous, and in a good way, because he knows what he wants. He knows what he wants. He knows how it should look. He knows how it's going to work. And he's a really good actor himself, actually, Justin. And he had
a cameo in
the he played Ziggy Marlon. Was it Ziggy Marlon?
Ziggy Marlon, yeah.
He was really, really good. He was fantastic as Ziggy Marlon. Fantastic. And he kind of showed me what he wanted, and we rehearsed it a bit, or he kind of talked me through it, and it was very, he was very, the pacing, Justin was very, very particular about the pacing of it. He didn't want it to be, it had to be the right speed and the beat, and then it had to kind of grow in memento and and momentum. And I thought, okay, and I thought, okay, so that's what he wants, right? And I just had to, like, with things like that, you've got to, well, really with everything you do, but that's particularly kind of bold thing, it's not kind of naturalistic, but you've got to really just totally go for it. You can't, yeah, there we go, it's on the screen now. You can't do anything like that in all right.
That's you.
Yeah.
Giving it to Jip, and
you don't have any sound.
How many takes did you have to do for this?
Okay, but fair enough. But yeah, we did 2, but we used the first one, and that was the first one. But yeah, I thought, okay, and I just I just thought, I'm just going to go for it. You're not going to
yeah.
I didn't feel self-conscious. I was it was the right word. I enjoyed it. It was so much fun. It was just so much fun, and it was just so much fun to do. And when I kind of finished, and then somebody said cut, and then everybody burst into laughter and gave me a little cheer, which was quite nice. And it was lots of fun. We did do it again. We did do a second tape, but we used the first one. It was just for safety, but it was
because I mean, one of the things that Justin Kerrigan was really good on with that film was with his casting, because he cast John Sim when he was still relatively unknown. You've got Lorraine Pilkington, who's a cracking actress, Sean Parks, Danny Dyer, and then there was a load of people in quite small roles, like Richard Coyle, played Andy in it. Went on to have a pretty big career.
I didn't know he was in it.
Andrew Lincoln had a sort of walk on as
Lincoln was fantastic. He was amazing.
Danny Midwinter was probably on the set the same day as you, because they probably were shooting other scenes that day, and he was in the shop scenes, and he was like Jip's mate working in the shop.
All right.
He went on to do Rise of the Foot Soldier and a number of TV shows and things.
Yeah, Rise of the Foot Soldier, what a movie!
Amazing. And I've met all of these people as well at different times in my life. It's quite it's quite unusual. I met Danny at a film screening. I went to see a play with John Simmin and met him afterwards. And these are all, I mean, they're really good quality people. I'm going to do a whole separate stream about human traffic, so I won't dwell on it too long. But I will say that I wrote to Justin recently, and I asked him to come on because I know there's a huge history behind that film and what happened with it. I know he got ripped off and went through a pretty bad time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, and he was trying to get a sequel made at one point, but then he no longer has the rights to the sequel either. So they've now gone to somebody else.
Right.
But I think it's a film that would have been interesting. You could have done a film set 10 years later and see what impact that culture had on those characters and how they're living their lives now in a bit of a like Shane Meadows kind of way. That could have been.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Could have been interesting. Well, let's move on from your infamous scene that I finally got right in Human Traffic to other work that you've done. I mean, you've got quite a varied CV, and obviously on IMDb we can't see what you've done theatre-wise, but I'm assuming that there's a fairly hefty round of theatre productions there.
Yeah. The first rep I did was Theatre Fluid, but like in London, I worked at the Globe once in King John, actually.
Right.
It was an original Shakespeare company production, and this was a particular, quite unique and really, really good theatre company called the Original Shakespeare Company. It was run by a chap called, I don't know if it's still going, I imagine so, a chap called Patrick Tucker. And their basic premise was that they rehearsed in the way that it was considered from research that I think his daughter, Patrick Tucker's daughter, had done. I think we rehearsed in the way that apparently Shakespeare's actors would have rehearsed in Shakespeare's day, namely that because parchment paper was so expensive, they couldn't just print out millions of copies of the script. So and they didn't have that much rehearsal time, so actors only got, you would get all your lines, of course, but you only got the last half of the iambic pentameter. You just got the last 3 or 4 cue words of the line. So if an actor had a speech before you only got the last few words of that person's speech as the cue to come in with your own lines.
Right. That's
so it really made you, when you're on stage, it made you really alert, because when you'd never worked or rehearsed with anybody before either. You don't do any rehearsals. You don't do any rehearsals. Everybody gets their own lines and the last few words of the previous script. Then you go on and you do the play. And that was quite scary, but it was so much fun. And that's what I did at Shakespeare's Globe.
The Patrick Tucker that you're talking about started his career as a director on the TV series Angels, if you remember Angels, about the nurses.
Oh, yeah, I remember that
kind of blip going through the opening credits. And then he did 11...
Wow, that's really
He did 11 episodes of Brookside. He worked on the TV series Jury. I remember watching that. That was good. Casualty, a couple of episodes of Casualty. He's also written a book on screen acting. And he's still going. So
he's a nice guy.
There you go. So you did a bit of theatre, and then slowly but surely the kind of the TV credits started coming along. You even got to play Dennis Nielsen in a reconstruction sort of documentary.
Yeah.
I can see you doing that part actually when you put your glasses on.
Yeah.
How was that? How was that, playing such an iconic, sort of twisted character? I mean, did you have to do much prep for that, or was it an in and out?
No,
job?
There wasn't any time for that, and if that's what they would have wanted, I would have been perfectly happy to do that. But they didn't want me to do an impersonation of him. I did actually see some I did actually see some videos of him in his garden talking to a friend, or talking to the camera, or some home video or something, but they didn't want that. They didn't want me to do like an impersonation of how he was physically. They wanted a slight Scottish accent. But I was very happy to get that. I think it was very, very well made program.
And I mean, you started getting, I think it's fair to say, and one of the things again I noticed about watching your showreel, is one of the things I coach my actors is I say, when they say what accent should I learn, I say you've got to be able to do a good, fairly generic American accent, and if you're going to do more than one, do East Coast and California. I noticed your American accent's one of the best I've ever heard a British actor do.
Well, that's really well. I've really got Canada to thank for that. I know Canada's Canada, and the Canadian accent depends where you are in Canada. Fundamentally, in Canada, the Canadian accent is. The well-spoken Canadian accent is so similar to the well-spoken American accent that it's. I mean, my American accent comes from Canada. Certain parts of Canada, of course, certain parts of the north of Canada or the east parts of Canada, it's quite a different accent, of course, when they say a boot and things like that, which has got the Scottish influence. But the part of Canada it was pretty much interchangeable with the American accent. And the reason I mention it is just that it's been so useful in my career growing up in Canada, because I spent my formative years in Canada, and so I just acquired a very, very natural. I used to speak with an American accent when I came back to school in Wales, and it gradually faded away, but I never ever forgot it. So I've always been able to do a genuine, really authentic, faultless American accent whenever I wanted to do one. And a lot of obviously actors in Britain, they might be good actors, but if you can't, they might kind of do an okay American accent. But if you can do a really good one, if you're a good natural actor and you can do a really good American accent, it puts you into a smaller group of people, and you just get 50% more auditions as well. So it really, really helps. So I think it's the most useful accent an actor can learn, really. If you want to get more auditions, more castings, more auditions, become really good at the American accent, and you will get more work.
I think that's answered the question that RRTNZ asked earlier that I said I would get around to. Serious question for Philip. How did you lose a Canadian accent like you? I moved to Canada as a child from the UK, but I never managed to ditch my accent despite living in New Zealand for nearly 30 years.
Right, okay, I'm just going to read this.
Yeah.
Read it very slowly. Serious question for Philip. How do you lose a Canadian accent? I'm thinking, why would you want to? But maybe, okay, how do you lose?
Well, I think he lives in New Zealand now, and maybe he's trying to get rid of it. And I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't know if this chap is wants to be an actor. I don't know.
I don't think so. He's very supportive of my channel and always popping in, but I don't think he's
as a child from the UK. Oh wow, never managed to ditch my Canadian accent. Oh wow, that's fascinating. Despite living
in New Zealand for 30 years.
Wow, that's amazing. I don't know. I really I don't know.
Well, you covered it to some degree, and it kind of segued nicely with the topic that we were just.
If the I don't know what the gentleman's name was, but I think if you really, for whatever reason, you actually want to lose your Canadian accent, I think the way to do it is decide what accent you want to speak with, and listen to that in the morning as you're tidying up the house. Listen to that accent and just emulate it all the time. Just speak all the time in the accent that you want to have. Speak all the time in that accent. For instance, a lot of the time, like when I'm walking around the house and tidying up and doing stuff, I listen to American. Even now, I still listen to American accent tapes many times a day, because more American parts and British parts. So I want to make sure my American accent is always really, really, really good. Question: did you tread the boards at the Globe?
I think you already answered that. The second part of the question is, if so, how did it feel? I'd imagine there's an immense sense of history about working there. Was there that kind of moment when you finally got to step on the stage of the Globe, or the Globe recreated as it is? I guess it's not the original.
Yeah, wasn't the real one down the road, or slightly down the road?
I think the original venue was destroyed in the fire of London, wasn't it?
You probably know more about it than I do, lads. Yeah, it was great. It was an amazing feeling working at the Globe. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it.
So let's move on to a couple of your other credits.
Get water. I'll be back in 20 seconds.
Yes, no, absolutely. And guys, I see there's more questions in the chat. I will get to them. But if you have other questions for Phillips, and I'm going to move on to his more recent credits shortly, do pop them in the chat, and I'll get around to putting those to.
Like all good actors, there, Lance. You're improvising very well.
Oh, I'm an expert at it. Now you did a role in the. I think this is. I'm right in thinking that this is the English speaking remake of the 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out the Window and Disappeared?
English speaking remake.
Or were you in the original? Because the original 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out the Window and Disappeared is I believe it's a Norwegian film that's also based on a book which I've read.
Wow. The book's supposed to be really good.
The book is great. The book is fantastic, and I've seen the native movie, but I think there is an English speaking remake of it. Were you in the original or were you in the
English speaking?
Can you remember?
Okay, well, if there was, I don't know, but as far
Let me
as
have a look.
The movie was actually in English, I think.
Yeah, actually, but sorry, you were in the first original production with all the Scandinavian cast.
Yeah, I mean there was quite a few Scandinavian actors in it who were brilliant.
Or it might be that it's being remade in America or something.
I think the movie itself, though, was fundamentally in English. There might have been some subtitles up.
Yeah, they were probably wanting to give it the widest sort of audience possible.
But yeah, that was really good. The lead actor in that was just amazing. I can't remember his name, but he was just him. Yeah, beautiful actor, so natural, so natural. He used to be a comic as well, apparently. In his was it Finland? Yeah, but wonderful actor, and the director is really good. I just love shooting that. Love shooting that so much.
Well, how many days were you on that? And did you was that? I mean, we're coming into the era of self-tapes beginning to happen, but not quite into the era where they took on a life of their own because people just didn't want to hire out audition rooms anymore. Did you have to? What was the casting process of getting the role in that? Because it's quite an iconic piece.
That was Dowling Eardley casting. Christine Eardley and Shakira Dowling at that time were casting together, and I think I had 2 auditions for that. I can't remember if I taped for that. But I did 2 auditions, and yeah, it was just a really good script. When you, I love great dialogue. I just love good writers. There's it kind of sometimes it's always it's always good, it's always top quality work, but sometimes you get a self-tape through and you think, oh, okay, this is a really good company, and the script is not as thrilling as one might want it to be. But sometimes you get scripts and it's another brilliant top level project, but you think, wow, the dialogue of that is incredible. And that's what I love, good dialogue. I would love to be in something, TV or film thing that David Mamet had written. He's probably my favorite writer of all time. Love David Mamet so much. I've been in lots of his plays. I did Sexual Perversity in Chicago, Oleana, Speed the Plow. He's just brilliant because he just writes the way people talk. It's just so natural. I think Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant have that talent as well, to just write impeccable dialogue. And like Harold Pinter was the same,
Do you have a favorite David Mamet play?
Well, I mean, he's written so many amazing plays. Just David Mamet is just. I would love to go to Chicago and just go to see David Mamet's house or the theater company he created and everything. But I guess my favorite Mamet play would probably be Glenn Ross.
Yeah, that's mine. I didn't want to say until you said yours. That's mine.
What a film! I mean, certainly the film was amazing, but the play. I knew the play was at acting school when I first read it, and astonishing play. Just incredible dialogue, so powerful.
Yeah, really good.
And he actually, Mamet, he wrote the play, of course. He wrote the screen adaptation, which is slightly different in places.
It's got a couple of extra scenes, that give the characters more depth. And that opening speech with Alec Baldwin is not in the show, and he wrote that especially for the film. And I think that opening speech is brilliant. And when I went to see it at the theatre, I was actually quite disappointed that they'd not incorporated it. I saw it twice. Christian Slater was Roman in one production I saw, and I can't remember who was in the second one, but they were both good.
Yeah, amazing play. Absolutely loved it.
So, how long were you on? It's a Swedish film, The 100-Year-Old Man. How long were you on that for?
I think it was only like, from what I can remember, I think it was a 3-day shoot for me.
Was that filming in Sweden?
No, we actually shot it in Budapest. I think it was 2014 or 15 or something like that. Yeah, we shot it in Budapest.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting film that again, it's very different from the book, and I definitely do recommend that you.
Yeah, really good piece of work.
So, people have been asking about some of your more recent stuff, so I'll make sure I cover that so we don't run out of time. One of the questions in the chat was that obviously you were in the recent TV show Wednesday.
Yeah.
Were you approached for that, or how were you approached for that role? Did you just get put up for it by your agent? Was there an audition? What was the process of getting cast in that show?
Well, basically, I mean, most of the time, pretty much all I do really is TV, film, and computer games when I can get them. With all the work I do, all comes almost always. Occasionally, they still have auditions in town in Soho, like they did many moons ago. But in the last 6 years, it's basically been pretty much self-tapes.
Yeah.
I got a self-tape through from my agent to tape for this, and it was called, when I got the tape through, it was called Pilgrim. It was actually called Pilgrim. The series is going to be called Pilgrim, and I knew it was Tim. What's his name again?
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton, yeah, of course, because I'd worked with him on Dumbo. I had a small part on Dumbo as well.
Yeah,
and I thought, oh wow, this is going to be really, really good. So I just taped for it. And there's an actor friend of mine called Dominic Burke, who's a fantastic actor, and he is usually the friend of mine who I get to help me with tapes, and he's really fabulous. He's very, very talented. He's good at directing, and his camera work's really, really good. And we taped for it and got the part from there.
So was it? Did you get it just on the self-tape alone, or did the self-tape get you in the room and then you did a face-to-face?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have to do recalls. Sometimes you do recalls.
But for Wednesday, was it what was the process after the self-tape?
Part from that.
You got the part from the self-tape?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a huge part in that. I enjoyed doing it, though. It's fun. I enjoyed doing the tape, and I loved shooting that so much. It was so much fun. It's when on the tape, it was interesting actually, because my friend Dominic, who helps me with my tapes, other actors do help me at times as well, who are really, really good, but he helps me with most of them. And it was interesting actually, when we were doing that scene, and he's giving his son this poison and telling him to go and poison somebody. I remember my friend Dom saying, this could be very shouty. We won't do it like that though. We'll tone it down. We'll make it more subtle, kind of thing. And they must have liked what I did, of course. But on the day, and we did do it different ways on the day. I can't remember the director's name, but she was really, really good. Who did my episode? She was really, really good to work with, and we did do it different ways. But in the end, they obviously went for the all-out screaming, shouting take, which I think works well, But
it's interesting that an opposing choice to that was what got you the role.
Yeah.
And I think that's not bad advice for an actor, is try to give them something that they won't necessarily expect, because with self-tapes, if you send out 100 self-tapes to 100 actors, I would say that 70 of them will go for the most obvious choice of the read.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, people do say that. I know what you mean, Lance. People do say that. Don't.
That means that the casting director is going to be seeing 70 scenes read more or less the same way, and then 30 people who do it a different way.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
You want to be the one that lodges in their head, and they remember you for doing it differently. As long as you do it well, I think. If you do it
naturally, that's the primary thing. You've got to do it naturally, whether it's the kind of expected way to do the scene or not. You've got to be natural, but giving them something different as well can be a good idea.
And that was another one that was shot in Eastern Europe. Was it New Boyega Studios or somewhere like that? I think it was.
It was in Romania. It was near Budapest. It could have been that one. I thought that it could have been that. I've heard of that. I've worked there a couple of times, but I can't remember whether that is in Romania or Budapest. Is it in Romania? Anyway,
I just remember that I went on Google Earth to have a look at the studio, because occasionally I'll go and have a look at them and see what sets are standing and that kind of thing.
Okay.
And the sets for Wednesday, you could clearly see them on the Google Earth satellite.
Really?
Yeah. You know, they had that kind of octagonal courtyard.
Okay. Yeah.
With the kids, and that one in particular, I can't remember if it was New Boyana or if it was a different studio, but you could certainly see that set.
I mean, we shot that scene outside anyway. It was kind of in a forest, and it was a night shoot. And it was great. It was so much fun to do that, though. It's funny actually, because I've just got used to, having done quite a bit of film and TV, I've got used to how things are done. But I was still kind of, the moment that I arrived in the forest on the set and there's everybody around, you know, it was practically started to, because they're always trying to think of time and everything.
Yeah.
Rehearse it almost immediately, like shook hands with the director, and then it was like, okay, please get in the car, and they just started pretty much immediately. So you got to be very on the ball.
Yeah.
You got to be very on the ball to not let kind of things like that phase you, you know.
Yeah.
But it was great. Got on really well with the director. She was really, really good. Gave good directions, and the actor I was working with, Lewis something, I can't remember his name, the actor's name, but he was fabulous to work with. And one thing I've noticed is that always, if you want to get on, always give all of yourself, and don't have any self-consciousness ever.
Yeah.
Never self-conscious, or give all of yourself. And so obviously I remember being in the car with the actor Lewis doing this scene. I think we did about 7 takes and maybe rehearsed it a few times and that, but obviously, so he starts the scene practically crying and intensely frightened of me and distressed. And I start the scene, well, the whole scene, in rage.
Was it Lewis Guzman? Was that who you were doing the scene with?
That was his second name, Lewis something, and
or Hoyas. Hoyas. No, maybe not. No, carry on anyway. Don't worry about the name. Carry on.
You've just got to. You've always got, one thing I think I've realized over the years is, don't wait for the director to just kind of take charge yourself of what you do. Take responsibility yourself for what you're going to do. So, you know, if you need to be, when the scene starts, if you need to be, I think that's him. Yeah.
Lewis Hayes.
Really good actor. Yeah. Beautiful actor. If you need to be already in that state of aggressive rage when the scene starts, you've got to be there when the scene starts. You can't work into it. You've got to be in that state already, just as Lewis Hayes, had to be already crying and in a traumatic state. And you just got to devote yourself to that, and don't wait for the director to say, oh, you know, can you start getting into character now? You know, they don't want to have to, they're thinking of a million other things. Just take charge yourself and do that. And that what makes things work well. And that's what Lewis did, and that's what I did. And it's just a great scene to do. I really enjoyed it.
This is actually, I'm pretty sure, because I remember looking at it before, this is the American sort of town square set from Wednesday.
Oh, yeah. I shot a little bit there. I think I did a photograph with my family or something there. I do remember the set was pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was New Boyana. If this is indeed the same set, I could be wrong, but I seem to recall looking at the set, and I'm pretty sure it was this one.
Yeah.
And, a couple of the other things that you did more recently, you did FBI International, which is quite a big franchise. Quite a nice role on that as well.
Yeah. I'd never actually heard of it before, actually, but you know, I don't know any TV. I'd like to get into TV again one day, but I'm one of these people, when I do something, I don't do it by halves. I like to. I don't want to just get a TV. I want to get like the biggest TV in human history. Even people will be jealous of me. But anyway, why am I talking about TVs? I can't remember.
Well, we were talking about FBI International. So
yeah.
It's not a property you are familiar with, because you don't have a TV.
I hadn't seen.
Was there a lot of prep for that part, or you're playing an American military guy?
Well, no, he wasn't actually a military guy, but he was. He was getting on this plane to escape this danger, and
yeah, we saw the clip at the beginning.
Yeah. And then the plane gets blown up, but I mean, it was so much fun shooting that. It was just so good. I mean, you know, it wasn't a huge long scene, but the dialogue was good, and I enjoyed working with the actress. The director was really, really good. Rob Greenlee, or I think his name was. He was really, really good. He wore this kind of cowboy hat. But again, yeah, I did the tape for that, and I felt very confident that I'd done a really, really good tape. And just got on set and just did a little bit of rehearsal in that, and just lots and lots of fun. And it's funny, actually, because at the very end of the scene, before he gets killed by the missile, the director, he just wanted me to improvise different things that I would say.
Right.
And I looked out the window and I see the rocket coming towards me, and so he got me to improvise different reactions to that. But the one that they went with was the very first one I did.
That was with the F word, I think.
Yeah. Which they edited beautifully. The editing of that was just perfect, absolutely perfect.
You did,
but that was, to me, that's the first thing that came out.
And not long before that, you did several episodes of a Scandinavian show called Beforeigners. I'm wondering if your role on the 100-Year-Old Man was it the same casting director? Did they sort of see you in that role and call you in for that? Or?
It was a different casting director. But interestingly enough, I've just the actors on Beforeigners were fabulous, absolutely fabulous, really good director, fabulous actors. And it was very unique series, a unique premise. And I've just actually done a tape for the casting director. It's another Norwegian film who cast Beforeigners. I did a tape a couple of weeks ago for a new thing that she's casting, and the dialogue was just amazing, really, really good.
So, I mean, how did the casting for that come about, though? Was it just literally, someone called your agent and you got put up for it again, or did you hear that they'd seen you in the other show, or was it just pure chance?
Just a self-tape again,
Right.
again, a couple of scenes.
I mean, because you're like probably the only English actor on the show, from what I can tell. So it's pretty good to land that part.
There was another the actress who played my character is a detective, and he has a detective partner as well. His partner's a detective, a female detective, and the actress who played that part was from Britain as well, and she enjoyed working with her.
So you got to take on a kind of, I guess you call it a supporting character role in one of the most iconic games franchises in recent memory, if not gaming history. It's a favorite game of mine, and that's called Hitman, which most people know, Agent 47. And we were all waiting for Jason Statham to get cast as him when they did the first movie, and it didn't quite happen, which was a bit of a shame. But you somebody asked a question about this earlier, so I'm glad that, thank you for reminding me, Matthew Wheatley. You got to play this character called the Constant.
Yeah.
And so I was seeing you. I've seen you in a number of roles where I haven't realised it's you, which is, I think, is a credit to your acting. And again here, you put on a very, very different voice for this guy.
Yeah.
Because I think the name of the character is Arthur Edwards. Is that right?
Yeah. It's strangely. You'd think a character called the Constant would have this. Maybe they did this deliberately. You know what I mean? Like going against expectations or type. But you'd imagine that a character called the Constant would have some extraordinary name. You know what I mean? Some extraordinary name. But he was just called Arthur Edwards.
Yeah. You did a very particular type of voice for that character. I mean, can you just talk us through the process of that a bit? Was there a briefing? Did they say, okay, we want the character to be like this, or did you kind of have free reign? How did that all come about?
Yeah, total free reign, really. Basically, when I got I think it was 2015. I think I taped for that. Auditioned for it. I got the thing, the information through from my agent, and I don't know if I'd actually auditioned for a computer game before, a computer game character. I might have done. I'm not sure. But anyway, this is the first one I got, and I got this through, and it wasn't called Hitman. It was called something else. I think they were trying to hide the title because they don't like things getting out before they should get out and stuff.
Yeah, no, I understand. Like Blue Harvest with Return of the Jedi,
Oh, okay, yeah. And so when I got the audition request through, I remember thinking, I was thinking, God, it looks like it might be Hitman. I just had a feeling, because I was a huge Hitman fan, like ever since like 2002 when I first played Hitman Agent 47, the very first game.
Yeah.
No saves, which drives you around the bend. But anyway, we won't go there. But anyway, it's interesting enough, to answer your question, Lance, finally, when I got that through, they gave a short character description. They gave a brief description of what he was like. They said he's kind of gray, and he would almost blend into the background and quietly menacing. And also, that was useful. So they just gave a bit of description about what they wanted, and that was useful, and I absorbed that. And but they also I can't remember the chap's name, but the conceptual or artistic the artist, the artist who I think envisaged or showed the company his how he imagined all the characters to look. He drew an absolutely brilliant little drawing of the Constant, and I'll never forget it. It was it was this one at the bottom of the screen there, just at the very bottom of the screen, Art Station, that one there. They sent me this little drawing of the Constant, so standing there like that, and it was really, really useful. It was something really, really you could work on, and the script was just fantastic. The dialogue was brilliant.
Yeah, you got to do some great dialogue scenes in that. And how was that process of doing those lines in a recording studio? Were you doing them with other actors when you had scenes as a duo, or did you record all your lines separately on your own?
Well, Hitman 2 and 3 were different, where you'd no, in Hitman 2 we did I think we did do that in a studio with other actors all around a mic. But Hitman 3, it was all totally on your own. You just had your lines, and that was it. No other actors around. But the Hitman 1, or Hitman 6, well, you know, the first part of the trilogy, with the two cutscenes that were in Hitman 1, the two cutscenes that Constant was in, I was, when we did the motion capture, the performance capture for that, I was in everyone was in, you were in the scene actually just acting with the other actor.
Right.
And I'd never done motion capture before. It was just so much fun. I just loved that day. I loved doing the motion capture for that. It was just the most fun thing ever. And I hope one day David Bateson, he's a really good friend of mine, who plays Agent 47, of course. I hope he gets one day to do motion capture, because he would love that so much. For some reason, he was away when they needed. He was doing something else, it wasn't available or something, but he would love to do that. So I hope that happens for him. But it was so much fun to do that. Working with Jane Perry, who played Diana, she was fantastic. I think it's funny, and Ramon Tikaram, I think he played Mr. Fannin. He was superb actor. It was just so much fun to do those cutscenes. It's really weird because at first, you know, you go into the tight-fitting suit with the little light balls everywhere where your joints move and that was quite fascinating. But then you have to wear this. They first of all they film your face making all these. You have to kind of make all the human expressions under the sun. They film you doing this.
Yeah.
And then when you do it, the actual scene, of course, you're wearing this headset with a camera which films your face all the time. But it's weird because you put this headset on and the cameras kind of move your head and the camera's moving like that. And you think to yourself, how am I going to act naturally? How am I going to act naturally with this piece of metal on my head?
So what did you do to sort of take yourself out of that space and put yourself into your acting space, so to speak?
You just focus on what you're doing.
Right.
You focus on what you're doing and just be in that moment and be in the scene. And so after a while, both me and Jane Perry, for instance, when we're doing the train scene, we just forgot they were wearing these headsets, and the scene went great, and it was so much fun. I loved doing that.
I imagine it's much the
Great
same
dialogue.
principle as forgetting that the crew are on set while you're,
Yeah,
you
you
know.
have self-consciousness.
There's a couple of if you don't mind we've hit the 90-minute mark, but if you don't mind staying for a little bit longer, there's just a couple of other things. Like, I told you it'd go fast, didn't I? I said it would go fast in no time.
It's I didn't think it was 90 minutes by any means, but yeah, time flies when you're having fun.
If I can just cover a couple of things, and I'll just say to chat as well, if anyone's got any other questions for Philip, put them in the chat now. I know there's a couple I've still got to ask, and I will do those before we wrap up. Just want to ask you quickly about The Alienist. This is not a show that I've seen, and I know your role. I think you're in one episode of this. I think it's run for 2 seasons. It's got a number of actors that I really love in it, like Daniel Bruhl, Luke Evans, who we can see you're doing. That's your back. We can see you doing a scene with Luke Evans here. You've got Dakota Fanning and, you know, a lot of other good actors, as well as some young up-and-comers. What was it like working with Luke Evans on this, and how was it doing the show generally?
Really good. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed working with Luke. He was really nice guy and very giving actor. Really, really suited the part well. And just, yeah, I really, really enjoyed that. The director was really, really good. I think I did. Yeah, I did a tape for that. And then that was a 3 audition process. I did a tape for that, and then I did a recall with the casting directors, who I've met a few times.
I'll tell you who they are in a sec. Just carry on telling us about the process.
Anyway, so met the casting directors, had an audition with them, and that went well. And then met the director and the casting director again at Spotlight for the final audition. Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed it.
Good God, there's about 40 producers on that show. Casting was done by Avi Kaufman, Lucinda Sison, I imagine did. Yeah, Tanush Fidel, Natasha Vincent, probably different countries, but yeah, Lucinda Sison's been around for a long time. One of the top sort of tier.
She's really great.
And then I also want to ask you about your role in The King with Timothy Chalamet. And again, anyone who wants to see the links for Phillips showreel, it's all first of all, it's also in the chat, and I think it's also in the information below, as is links to a load of other things. But yeah, here you are in The King, and I saw this the day it came out, because I'm a big sort of history, medieval castle kind of guy. One of my favorite periods of history. And I completely didn't recognize you at all in this part.
It was just a beard. There's no acting involved. It was just a beard.
Yeah, I mean, you are channeling your kind of inner Gandalf here, but you did a wonderful job. How was that? That was a Netflix production, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. That was fun. I remember doing this scene so well. I so enjoyed it.
Did it shoot in the UK, or where did it shoot?
I seem to have a second home in Budapest. We shot in Hungary,
right?
In Budapest and various places in Hungary, and yeah, that was fun. The actors in that movie were just beautiful, just amazing, so natural. The actors, beautiful actors. It was great working with Joel in this scene. He's really such an excellent actor. And you know, Timothy Chalamet, besides being a beautiful actor, he's a wonderful, humble, friendly chap. He's a really great guy.
Yeah, I met him at the Dune premiere, and I got to speak to him at the after party, and I would agree with you 200%. He didn't need to say hello to me, and he did, and we had a little chat, and he was really lovely.
Yeah, he's really great. And it's interesting, actually, like, as well, I remember being on set, because he's an actor. He gives everything. He just gives absolutely everything. He puts everything of himself into what he does. And sometimes you'd be on set, and it took me a few weeks because it was quite a long shoot to kind of get used to this. You'd be on set with Timothy Chalamet. Because the Lord Chamberlain, there's usually lots of people in the scenes with the king, scenes like that, for instance, loads of people in the scenes and that. And you'd be on set, and there'd be lots of the actors around, and Timothy Chalamet would be around, and sometimes he'd be walking around very kind of quickly with headphones in, and I think he might have been listening to a piece of music that brought up a memory or a feeling for him, or something quickly before he did the scene, or sometimes he'd just make this loud noise. I mean, he'd just be very quiet, then he'd just make this loud noise, just completely without any warning at all. And at first, it was a bit startling. You thought, what's going on? Who did that kind of thing? And then after a while, you think, oh, it's Timothy Chalamet. He made that noise. But he wouldn't apologize, or no need to. He wouldn't explain himself. He just did it because he knew he needed to do that.
Yeah.
To get him where he needed to be, and that's
part of his process. Yeah, which is
bothering anyone. It was just, but yeah, it was just a useful. He was just devoted.
Did you, as a result of, I mean, are you an actor that gets people ever stopping you in the street saying, "Hey, you're that guy"? I mean, I know, for example, if you've done an iconic show like Hitman, in a way, you can do Comic-Cons for you could easily go and sell your autograph at Comic-Cons, having done an iconic role. Is that something that tempts you at all?
I don't know too much about that. I've heard about Comic-Con. I don't know too much about it, actually.
I think if you want to get some extra funds for your big television that you're planning on buying, it sounds like it's going to be a £3,000 TV. You may want to go and do a few Comic-Cons and sign some pictures, because you can definitely make enough to buy a telly at a Comic-Con for sure.
I have to be invited though, or
I'm not sure of the process, but I think if you make your agent aware that you're up for it, they can probably put you up for a few.
Oh, okay. I'll have to think about that. It might be quite good fun.
And I think the small ones are more fun to do than the big ones.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. Hey, I'm not your agent, but that's what I hear. So what have you got? What have you got coming up, Philip? What should we be looking out for next from Mr. Rosch?
Okay. He can't pronounce my name. It doesn't matter.
Did I get it wrong again?
It isn't really. It's Rosch, but
Rosch.
Fine.
Rosch.
I've got a very small part. I can't say what the part is in the Marvels movie coming out soon. I think it's coming out in November. That was fun to do. That was lots of fun to do. We shot that about 2 years ago.
Was that a lot of green screen?
Might have been. When I was shooting, it wasn't green screen, but
that's good.
And then there's something I've got coming out made by Yash Raj Films in India called The Railway Men.
Yes, I saw a picture for the poster of that on your Facebook, I think.
Yeah, that's probably I think would say it's my favorite acting job that I've ever done. I absolutely loved shooting that for many reasons. One being that the actual story of what it is about is tragic. The loss of life that occurred in India in 1984 when this
it's the Bhopal gas tragedy, isn't it?
And I remember when I got the self-tape through, I remember looking at it, the details, I went thinking, blimey, I remember that. I remember that from years ago. An awful thing to happen. I think it's good that stories like this are told.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But besides that, it was just the company were just amazing. It was amazing to be in Mumbai. And
I was going to ask you where that was shot. And
yeah, in Mumbai, and I better not say who I play. I'd like to, but I would say who I play. But it was so much fun. The actors were beautiful. The director was fantastic. They looked after me so well, and it was just kind of a dream job. And playing the Constant was, again, I enjoyed that particularly as well. I love playing the Constant because it just felt so easy. It felt so easy to play that part. Anyway, yeah.
A friend of yours is saying hi. This is the man from Tripods. Robin Hayter is in the chat.
Robin Hayter.
Yeah, just popped in to say hello to you.
Hi, Robin.
Fritz from the Tripods. Anyone who's a fan. And actually, he has said that he'll pop on and do an interview for me. I think it'd be great if we could get all the Tripods cast together at the same time.
What's the Tripods cast?
That was the BBC science fiction series based on the books by Christian. Is it some Timothy Christian or
there's a
Fritz? I'm calling him Fritz now. Robin will know the name of the Christopher. Oh God, I can't remember. David Christopher or someone. The White Mountains was the first book. The second.
It's a BBC series called.
Yeah, with the aliens have come and taken over Earth, and it's kind of set after the invasion.
Series, an actual series.
Yeah, it was made in the 80s. They did 2 seasons.
Robin Hayter was on that.
Yeah, he was. He had a main role in season 2. John Christopher, thank you, Robin.
Okay, but Robin, I've got to say to everyone watching, Robin Hayter, amazing actor. I can remember when I was in the acting wilderness. This must have been, I think Robin and I must have worked together in 93 or 94 or something, 88, something, so late 80s, early 90s, whatever. And we were doing this student film called Reily, or Davis and Reily, or something like that. It was a student film. It was not bad, actually, as student films go. And I had a part on that as this kind of director making this film. And he was playing an actor. He was playing an actor who had to cry in the scene. And me as the director, I was stressing him out and stressing all the actors out. But Robin Hayter's performance, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The example of an actor with just giving all of himself. Because if you're doing a crying scene, you can't fake that. You have to feel some pain, bring some pain back to make it look real. And he did that every single take. He was fantastic in that film.
What was the name of it was a short film. Can you remember the name of it?
Davis, Reily and
oh, that's right, Martin and Reily.
Martin and Reily. Yeah, that's right.
Martin and Reily.
All right.
That'd be interesting to watch that now.
I didn't know Robin had done that, but yeah, I was with an agent way back then called Lepine Smith and Carney, who gentleman sadly passed away some years ago, but he was a really nice chap. And Robin, I think Robin might have been on their books as well, or anyway.
Right. I'm sure he'll confirm that if that's the case. When is the Railwaymen? Is it a movie or is it a mini series?
Oh yeah, it's a 3-part TV series. It's going to be on Netflix, and I think it's going to be released in November or December.
I have to say that because sort of straight kind of serious drama has always, particularly true stories, has always been right up my.
Me too. Yeah, it's my favorite thing of all time, really.
Yeah, and I will be literally watching that the day it came out, and there has been some pretty good ones on Netflix. There was a great one about the nightclub fire called The Endless Night in I think it was set in Argentina or somewhere in South America. True story about all these students that were killed, and the parents then trying to get a campaign for justice. It was like a 6-parter. and that's this is in the same kind of realm of genre, you know. And I do find those kinds of things very, very moving, and they're often about stories we don't really know much about. Those are the kind of jobs where would you agree, where you're on set and you think, oh yeah, I'm actually doing something quite important today. This feels like this will mean something to people. Is that fair?
Absolutely, yeah. And that doesn't happen too often. Interestingly enough, one of the times I think I've felt that most in my whole career is I was shooting a TV series for Finland. We shot it in Gran Canaria, I think.
Nice job if you can get it working out there.
Yeah, it was called Peacemaker.
Oh yeah.
I think it was a 10-episode series. Absolutely brilliant. But it was about a woman who is trying to do her best to rid the world of war, at least in some small way. And the working on that was a sheer pleasure, absolute pleasure, because of the subject matter and just the exceptional quality. Yeah, there we are. Exceptional quality. Richard Samuel, I worked with a lot in that. Beautiful actor, wonderful guy, absolutely beautiful actor. I think most of my scenes were with Richard, and AJ, the director, was great, and I just loved that experience. But I was really proud to have been part of that series. Really proud to have been part of that.
I haven't seen that, and so I'll be adding that to my watch list. Before we wrap up, there were two questions I had, and then I'll just quickly check the chat to make sure I haven't missed any. One question relevant to sort of today: have you noticed in the industry an impact on the work available in the UK as a result of the US actors' strike? Has that impacted the work available to you at all? Because I know some co-productions obviously aren't up because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has actually, because I usually get, I'm happy to say, lots of self-tape through from my agent, but since the strike started, there have been a significant drop in the number of tapes, because I think I probably the things I'm usually taping for are American productions or something to do with American actors are going to be in them, or American writers. So they've been not anywhere. There's still a few, but nowhere near as many. But apparently, anyway, the writers' strike is over now. So I hope they're happy with it.
Yeah, so the actors' strike will probably follow fairly soon. A question from David Macy: given a choice, I think I know what the answer to this question is going to be. Given a choice, do you prefer to run a scene a few times before a take, or are you a kind of dive straight in, let's get going kind of guy?
That's a very good question. That's a really, really good question.
Let's confine that to the film set for an answer.
I think sometimes both can be good, but I think what is often best something that you might need to block something, but if you don't do the minimal amount of rehearsal that you have to do, and just let it have its own life, because that'll make it the most exciting. That'll bring the spontaneity to the fore. So I think I enjoy doing that. It's more fun, it's more exciting, more dangerous to do that. And it'll be more spontaneous. You'll get more natural performances a great deal of the time.
Fabulous. My last question for you is, if you could go back in time and speak to your young actor self as he's embarking on the first year of his career, what piece of advice would you give him? And if you would tell him to do anything differently, what would it be?
Learn how to act.
Oh, I think you've got that one down.
I left acting school, I couldn't flip an act. I hope I can act now, but I certainly couldn't act when I left acting school. And you just be truthful. Be truthful. be truthful. Give yourself to what you're doing. Put your heart completely into it. Devote yourself to it. Give 100% of yourself. Don't act emotions. Feel what the person's feeling, and try to achieve what they're trying to achieve in that moment. You do that, you'll do a really good performance.
Well, Philip, I'll leave that there. I certainly hope you'll come back on again.
I love this, Lance. It was so much fun.
You're certainly welcome, and we often do top fives of different topics, so you can always come on one of those and give us your top five of whatever we're doing. Just to tell everyone, and so to thank Philip for coming on, and thank those of you for the chat that have been watching and taking part. I just want to tell people what's coming up next. I have got I'm on the Critical Drinkers channel, the YouTuber's #1 film critic. On the 2nd of October, we're doing a special on The Thing, and I'm actually doing a special on The Thing here on my channel with a load of guests on Halloween, on the night of Halloween, on the 31st of October. The next industry interview I've got lined up is with special effects artist Jeff Farley. He worked on Demolition Man. He did the Babylon 5 pilot. He did 2 seasons of Babylon 5. He worked for Empire Pictures with Charles Band, did films like Arena, Zone Troopers, and that sort of thing. He has been in the industry for nearly 5 decades. So he's going to have a lot of interesting stories, and who knows, he may be doing makeup on Philip's head one day. So because he's still going strong. I've also got confirmation that the producer of the TV series and the feature film Boiling Point, Hester Ruoff, is willing to come on the channel to talk to me as well. So she's going to be a fantastic guest. And I have not one, but at least 2 other directors of feature films you will have heard of. Can't say who they are at the moment until I've got the dates locked in, but planning to get both of them on this side of Christmas. So quite a lot of interesting stuff coming up, as well as my usual gut reaction reviews and my niche Lone Wolf gaming stream. But that's it from us tonight. Philip has been on for nearly 2 hours, so I've got to let the man go to bed. He needs his beauty sleep. Call time of 4 o'clock tomorrow. Thanks everyone in chat again, and we'll see you all again real soon.
Cheers, guys. I enjoyed that, Lance.